Hello, this is Goku421 back here with another pitch video. This time I will be pitching what I would do if I was going to do a reboot of the Terminator franchise. Now, before I get into the actual video itself, I do want to state I have no pre-knowledge of them rebooting the Terminator franchise of now. This is when and if they do it, what I would do and what I think they should do. On top of that, I am a Terminator fan. If you dislike this video, please leave a respectable comment. That's all I ask. Obviously, I will be saying things that are opinionated, and some people might get mad at some of the stuff I state. I am a huge Terminator fan. I've been a Terminator fan ever since I saw the first film. I think the second film is the best. And if you want me to do a review on the Terminator series, just tell me. The reason why I have definitely not done one on part 2 is because I have nothing to say about that film. And when I say I have nothing to say about that film, it's so amazingly good and it's so near perfect that there's not enough I could say about that film to even do it justice. I would be just basically stating everything I like about the film. I think I might have one negative, maybe two if I really try, but these would be really tiny nitpicks that don't actually matter because the movie is so excellent. There aren't really big concerns. The other Terminator films, a lot of them I do have big concerns, other than the fact that anything with time travel does have flaws built in simply for the fact that time travel is one of these things that there are always tiny little loopholes. But it's not a video about Terminator 2 or Terminator flaws. This is a video about what I would do if I rebooted the Terminator franchise and my pitch. So let me get started here. I do also have to explain before I get into the meat of the video, if you have not seen all the Terminator films, there might be a spoiler. There will at least be one spoiler. Now, the spoiler, which I'm about to say in a minute, I will tell you right when I'm about to say it, is something poorly franchised with the series, and if you've seen anything past 1, maybe 2, in 2 they do answer it. So if you've seen pretty much anything, any of the movies other than 1, this is not a spoiler. But I will be saying it right now, so please close your ears, and I will also be saying it within the video, and I will warn you before I say it. Okay, the spoiler is that Kyle Reese, the guy sent from the future in part 1, is John Connor's father. That's the spoiler. Now, before I get into the actual pitch, there is one other thing. Something I'll be suggesting actually was suggested by the creator, the writer and director, James Cameron, about the fact that he wished he could have used a T-1000 on the first film. The technologies didn't exist, so he didn't try. Thus, this is part of my idea. When I heard this is where the core idea came from. But the pitch is to essentially do a Terminator film that is a standalone. It doesn't interlink with any of the other ones, and it doesn't have, like, you cannot do a future film off of this because everything is explained in one film. Thus, you reduce the possibility of one of my biggest flaws with Terminator, is the fact that the more they do, the more illogical and the more scattered it becomes. So the movie would start out with the war, and Kyle Reese, ordered by John Connor to go back in the past to protect John Connor's mother, Sarah Connor. Thus, you see a battle going on, and this would probably be about 45 minutes. This would be about a half an hour to 45 minutes of the movie, because I think that there's not enough of the war, and this would you be getting to see the real war. You'd be getting to see this, and you'd also get to see John Connor in the very beginning of the movie. And so then you would get into essentially about an hour and a half of simply Terminator 1. The biggest difference is the villain would be a T-1000, not a T-800. There would essentially be no T-800s in this film, other than the future scenes. Because this is essentially, if they kill John Connor's mom, they win the war. Thus, they would send their best Terminator to do this assignment. This is very logical. This is something they would do. Also, a very big thing that I always wish they would have done with the T-1000, and I would have done, is the fact that the T-1000 is this really awesome character. It's the awesome infiltrator. But if you have a generic form, or not a generic form, if you have a default form you go back to all the time, then you're not as good as an infiltrator. So basically, I would have no actor cast as this role. Basically, every time, like, I would have several actors. Movies have done things like this before, not commonly, but this has been where there is no actual, there is no default actor. There is simply, every time he takes a new role, every time he changes, he stays that form until it's no longer practical, and he changes very often. See, the heroes don't even know how this guy looks, so when they see him, he can actually hunt them down because he's never looking the same. That's one thing that always bugged me about the T-1000, is the fact that he was this awesome infiltrator, but he always had this cop thing. And yes, having looking like a cop is a really good idea, but thus, they figure out how he looks very early on, and whenever they see him, they run away from him. Now, he can infiltrate and he can switch forms, but he doesn't do it often enough, and that's just one little thing I would definitely have him do, because I think that would make him much better do his job. He's a Terminator. He terminates. Infiltrating and termination. So, thus, he would never look the same. That's a little nitpick I have about the films, but I would have him definitely do that because I think it would work better overall, and I think people would like that. You never know who he is. And also, kind of in the movie, you really don't know who he is. Like, when a scene begins, he's already infiltrating. Not to not have the effect, just to have it, like, be a surprise. Who is he in this scene? So they send the T-1000, and the movie is about how he can destroy this thing. And I don't know how, I have no idea how they would do it. Volcano, maybe? No. I really don't know, but it would, there are certain things you could do, and there are interesting concepts, like the second film found a way to kill it, and obviously you don't have a Terminator helping you. There's no T-800 assisting Kyle Reese. Kyle Reese is alone. Also, the time thing that made them go back in time got destroyed after Kyle Reese. They destroyed it immediately. Thus, because of the fact that they wanted to prevent, because they essentially won the war and they wanted to prevent them from ever killing John Connor and essentially dooming the future. Beyond that, I don't know the details of the movie. Obviously, you'd have Kyle Reese impregnating Sarah Connor, creating John Connor. That is essentially part of the series, and I wouldn't remove that. Then, once the T-1000 is dead, and also Kyle Reese dies, because Kyle would die, we go into the last half of the last portion of the movie. The movie would have at least at this time been 2 hours. So essentially, probably part would be short. It'd probably be about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what they want to shove in. Essentially, what this is the beginning of Judgment Day. This end part is Judgment Day. John Connor is alive. He's 12 years old, I think. And his mom escapes from the mental facility, meets up with him, and essentially he meets Kate. They all survive the Judgment Day. And then, essentially, you see probably a couple minutes of their initial reaction and what they initially do, thus ending the series. You could continue this by doing other things like showing the war, the beginning of the war, how John Connor became this leader, but thus this would be a one-thing movie. This would be long. It would be about the length of 2 bad movies or 1 very good movie. Or when I say bad movie, I mean bad length movie. I hate hour and a half movies. I think that's a bad time for a movie. I don't really have much to say. Please leave a comment or a video response stating if you like this idea, and if you have a pitch for your own Terminator reboot, or Terminator film, or Terminator series, please say it. This is Goku401, and see you next time. YouTube.